On April 1st, 2025, something truly unforgettable happened in Vatican City. The world seemed to pause, eyes focused on the balcony where the new Pope was about to appear. But this wasn't just any announcement, it was history in the making. For the first time ever, the Catholic Church had chosen an Asian Pope, Pope Tagle, now officially known as Pope Toguchi. As he stepped out and spoke his first words, you could feel a shift in the air. His voice wasn't just formal or ceremonial. It was kind, warm, and full of hope. People didn't just hear another leader. They felt something new, a fresh beginning for the Church. His message didn't sound like a repeat of the past. It wasn't filled with complicated ideas or words that only theologians could understand. It was simple, personal, and deeply emotional. Pope Toguchi didn't stand there to give rules or orders. He stood there and invited the world to rediscover something precious, faith that feels real. His words didn't float above people's heads, they reached hearts. He spoke to a world that's tired, confused, divided, and hungry for meaning. And for once, a message from the Vatican didn't sound distant. It sounded close, like a friend talking to you. One of the most powerful things he said was, "Recover the sense of amazement, wonder, and awe at the gift of the Lord's presence." That line stuck with people. It didn't talk about rules, sins, or duties. It talked about feeling the beauty of faith. It reminded everyone of that spark that maybe they once felt as children, or maybe have never felt, but always hoped for. Faith isn't just about learning teachings. It's about feeling something deep inside. It's about being moved, being touched, being amazed that God is with you, here and now. Pope Toguchi brought something very fresh to the table. He didn't just give a speech. He gave people a reason to hope. His vibe was different. He made faith feel like something alive, not something old or heavy, but something that breathes. He said the Church must be a home for all, a place where the wounded, the lost and the forgotten, can come and feel safe, loved, and accepted. Those words hit hard. For anyone who's ever felt pushed away by religion, this was healing. It was like the Pope was opening the door wide and saying, "You belong here. Don't be afraid. Come in." But he didn't stop at kind words. He also talked about the real problems facing the world. Climate change, poverty, the refugee crisis, the growing gap between rich and poor. These aren't small issues. They're global struggles. And instead of avoiding them, Pope Toguchi stepped right in. He said, "We can't stay quiet. Not when our planet is hurting and people are in pain." It was more than just a speech. It was a call to action, a wake-up call. He was telling the Church and the world it's time to care, to act, to change. That energy spread fast. People around the world started talking. In churches, in homes, online, everywhere. People were asking, what does this mean? Is this the start of something new? Theologians, the big thinkers of the faith, couldn't stop analyzing it. And many loved what they heard. They said Pope Toguchi was a game changer, a leader who truly understands today's world and isn't afraid to face it head-on. His message felt like a big yes to the poor, to the left out, and to everyone. Who's ever wondered if the Church still had something meaningful to say? Of course, not everyone was on board. Some of the more traditional voices in the Church were cautious. They worried that this focus on feelings, justice, and modern issues might take away from the Church's core mission, saving souls. They wondered, are we shifting too far from the old ways? But even those who were unsure had to admit, something big was happening. Pope Toguchi's message couldn't be ignored. It sparked debate, but also deep thinking. And it showed that the Church is still full of life and ideas. What made Pope Toguchi's speech even more powerful were the 5 big changes he talked about. These weren't just small ideas. They were major shifts, big signs of where he wants to take the Church. These 5 points give us a roadmap for what might be coming next and how the Catholic Church might grow in a fast-changing world. The first change was about moving away from only following rules. Instead of focusing just on doctrines and laws, Pope Toguchi wants people to feel their faith. He wants them to rediscover the awe and amazement at the center of being Christian. This isn't about throwing away tradition. It's about bringing faith back to the heart. He believes that if people truly feel connected to God, they'll live. their faith more joyfully and fully. This is a quiet shift, but a deep one. The second point he made was about the Eucharist. For Catholics, the Eucharist is the heart of worship. But Pope Tagle wasn't just talking about the ritual. He said it's a life-changing encounter, a real meeting with the divine. He wants people to approach it not as a duty, but as a moment of deep connection. He believes this will bring new strength and unity to the Church. When people meet God in the Eucharist, they are transformed, and together they can face the world with new energy. The third idea was about making the Church a home for everyone. He especially focused on the people who feel ignored, judged, or forgotten. Pope Tagle said clearly that the Church should be like a big, warm hug, a place where anyone can come and feel welcome. It's not just about being nice, it's about living out Jesus' love in real ways, helping the poor, listening to the broken, welcoming those who've been pushed out. This is the kind of church he dreams of. The fourth shift he called for was open dialogue. He doesn't want the Church to just talk at people. He wants it to listen, to have real conversations, to sit down with people of all beliefs, ask questions, share stories, and work together. The world today is messy and divided. But Pope Tagle believes that listening, respecting, and building bridges is the key to staying real and making a difference. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. The fifth and final point was about caring for the planet. For Pope Tagle, this isn't just a political issue, it's a spiritual mission. He said clearly that the Church must lead the charge in fighting climate change. We have to protect the earth, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. He sees everything in the world as connected. Hurting the earth is hurting each other. And taking care of creation is part of living out our faith. These 5 ideas, feeling faith deeply, finding God in the Eucharist, welcoming everyone, talking with the world, and saving the earth, aren't just nice thoughts. They form a powerful plan. They show a vision for a church that is alive, brave, and full of love. A church that meets people where they are. A church that still holds on to its heart, but is not afraid to grow. All around the world, people reacted to Pope Tagle's vision. In the Philippines, where he was born, the joy was overwhelming. The people celebrated with pride. To them, seeing one of their own chosen as Pope was more than exciting. It was deeply meaningful. For years, Filipino Catholics have been strong in their faith. Now it felt like the world was finally seeing them. Pope Tagle's message felt like a celebration of their culture, their devotion, and their dreams. His simple, honest way of speaking touched people across the nation. Across Asia, his words sparked hope. In countries where Catholic communities are growing fast, many people felt like the Pope finally understood them. He spoke in a way that made sense to their everyday lives. He talked about kindness, about inclusion, about action. He reminded them that their voices matter in the global church. This was more than leadership. It was representation. It was dignity. It was hope. In Europe, where the Catholic faith has deep roots but is facing big challenges, reactions were mixed. Some people loved Pope Tagle's openness. They felt like this was what the Church needed to stay alive in modern times. But others were unsure. They worried that changing too much could make the Church lose its strong foundation. Still, the debate itself showed something important. The Church is still alive, still thinking, still moving. In the Americas, the response was lively and full of discussion. In Latin America, people connected with Pope Tagle's focus on the poor and the marginalized. They've lived those struggles, and they saw in him a leader who truly cared. In North America, different groups responded in different ways. More progressive Catholics were excited about his message on climate change, justice, and inclusion. More conservative ones appreciated his respect for tradition, but were cautious about how much change is too much. But no matter where you looked, one thing was clear. Pope Tagle's message brought people together. It started conversations, brought out emotions, and gave people something to dream about. It reminded everyone that the Church is